to practical. Tactical, less lethal weapons. Waging war without deadly force.
Our motto is kill a threat, not a person.
Practical, less lethal weapons. Keeping crime in check without endangering lives. Tactical, the wired warrior, using computers in battle, online and on target. Practical, wireless networking, a communication revolution for everyone.
Everyone can be engaged virtually all the time, 24/7.
Tactical, combat speed, in the air, on the ground, across the seas, the winning edge in war.
It can mean the difference between victory or defeat.
Practical, for civilians, recreational speed, a thrill-seeking obsession.
Speed is life to me. It's what it's all about.
Tactical to practical, developed for tactical advantage, declassified for practical use. Tactical, less lethal weapons, winning the war without deadly force.
Our motto is kill a threat, not a person.
Practical, less lethal weapons, heading off danger without endangering lives. In urban conflicts like riots, hostage dramas, armed standoffs, and angry mobs, deadly force is not an option. That's why law enforcement and military peacekeepers are increasingly turning to less lethal weapons. Flashbangs, sting balls, beanbag rounds, dazzlers, tasers, energy beams, and even sound waves are replacing gunfire as a means to stop criminals or disperse a hostile crowd. The goal of any less lethal weapon is to stun, scare, sting, knock down, entrap, or immobilize. Anything but kill. Fire in the hole! This less lethal stun grenade creates a blinding yet harmless explosion. Woo! Man, feel that one. But less lethal weapons aren't always foolproof. Used incorrectly, they can be deadly. That's why police agencies prefer to use the term less lethal rather than non-lethal.
There are no perfect systems. There is nothing that cannot be abused or misused.
The purpose of low lethality weapons is to gain compliance from individuals. It's not to injure individuals. Sometimes that means the application of pain.
Drop the knife. Down.
Somalia, 1992. A U.S. peacekeeping mission turns ugly. Operation Restore Hope begins as an attempt to ensure the delivery of humanitarian aid to the Somali people, but soon turns to an operation to restore order. U.S. troops fire at mobs incited by armed militia. During the 15-month mission, thousands of civilians are injured or killed in the conflict.
And I think we came out of that saying there's got to be a better way. We had very few non-lethal weapons. They were beginning to be deployed, but the need was seen for them.
One of the leaders in training and development of less lethal munitions for police and the military is ALS Technologies in Arkansas. ALS makes a wide range of low-impact projectiles, beanbags, plastic pellets, gel rounds, and rubber batons that are fired from a pistol or shotgun. Low-impact projectiles strike the target with blunt force, but are designed to avoid piercing the body.
It's like being hit with a large stick.
The difference between a less lethal projectile and a deadly one is the force of impact. Watch what happens when I fire a .357 Magnum into this ballistic clay. The gun delivers a bullet at a velocity of 1,400 feet per second and 540 foot-pounds of energy. The low-impact projectile is lighter and propelled by a much less powerful explosive charge. While this is not an official ballistic test, the difference is dramatic. I fire at the clay with a hydrokinetic round, a blunt cylinder filled with a non-toxic gel. At a velocity of 600 feet per second, it's designed to stun and mark the target, but not kill.
When you look at this compared to the 357, I mean, a huge difference.
Absolutely. You saw the 357 just blew the clay blocks apart.
1967. Low-impact projectiles first come into use in Hong Kong. British troops fire 7-inch wooden bullets against anti-colonial protesters. Rather than being fired at the rioters, the rounds are skipped off the ground to strike the legs. But the wood rounds sometimes bounce too high, causing serious injuries and fatalities.
People hit in the face, in the sternum. There are certain places on the body that have increased vulnerability.
When Northern Ireland erupts in riots in the mid-70s, the British modify the bullets, making them out of softer materials like rubber and plastic. The lighter materials strike with less force impact than the wooden rounds, but can be deadly if fired at a range of less than 20 yards.
Now, you're never supposed to fire one of these low kinetic energy weapons that close, because at muzzle, the power is much higher and it can be lethal.
Today, less lethal munitions are lighter and can be used at a much shorter range. But low-impact munitions can be less effective on people who are high on drugs or alcohol and as a result have a higher tolerance for pain. That's where tasers come in.
The next evolution has been tasers, or electromagnetic disruption devices.
The taser looks like a pistol, but it uses electric shock rather than blunt force to incapacitate a target.
The taser works on the central nervous system. It's the first weapon system or tool that's out there that shuts down an individual's electromagnetic responses inside of his body.
The taser fires 2 electric darts attached to a wire into the attacker. The darts stick to the skin and the wire transmits a 50,000 volt charge of electricity. It feels like a full body muscle cramp.
Drop the weapon now!
A gun that shoots electricity seems like a work of fiction. In fact, it is. 1970. Inspired by the Tom Swift books he read as a child, inventor Jack Cover creates a high-voltage, low-pulsed electrical gun. Taser is short for Tom Albert Swift electrical rifle. Like the gun in the children's book, the taser can knock a man down without severe injury.
I couldn't even believe it was actually hitting me. And all of a sudden, I mean, that was it. There was nothing, I mean, I was stoned. I'm a believer. I was the biggest critic of this thing. I'm a believer.
You didn't get back up.
I couldn't.
Tasers nationwide have reduced the injuries to suspects and have also reduced the injury to the officers.
While low-impact munitions and electrical guns are effective, many require accuracy and direct impact on the target. For large-scale crowd dispersion, tear gas is often used as an option for less lethal force. 1967, Vietnam. The U.S. military airdrops tear gas over wide areas of jungle to unearth the Viet Cong. As civil rights demonstrations escalate back at home, the military issues its surplus stocks of the gas to local police departments. Tear gas causes intense eye irritation and coughing and will disperse very large crowds, but it has drawbacks. It can contaminate innocent bystanders as well as agitators.
On any large crowd, there are only about a 10%, a small percentage of people that are in violation of the law. The majority of the crowd is usually there because of the event, and they don't really want to have anything to do with the protest that's going on.
Also, tear gas doesn't work instantaneously, leaving a window of opportunity for aggressive perpetrators to attack. A new alternative is pepper spray.
Pepper spray seemed to be a lot more efficient and effective on individuals that were being aggressive.
The active ingredient in pepper spray is derived from hot chili peppers. It's called oleoresin capsicum, or OC. Today, pepper spray is a popular deterrent available over the counter to anyone, but it's not a new idea. Over 2,000 years ago, Chinese warriors flung bags of red peppers at their enemies to stun them. Today, the delivery systems are much improved, as I'm about to find out.
All right, ready? Ready.
The evolution of less lethal weapons over the past decade has been explosive.
Here in San Diego at Pepperball Technologies, the latest option in the non-lethal arsenal is being developed for the military and police agencies. The launchers are very similar to those used in paintball games, except the velocity of these rounds is a lot higher, and you can shoot up to 6 rounds a second. These projectiles are filled with a powder containing capsaicin-2, made from the hottest molecules on the planet. It's also commonly found in your spiciest hot sauce.
Pepperball combines 3 non-lethal effects to get the job done. The first is a psychological impact of getting shot. The second is the kinetic impact, the pain that occurs when you're hit with those projectiles. And the third is the pepper irritant cloud that comes up and engulfs you after the ball bursts on you. And what happens there is your nose, throat, and lungs start to burn.
Because the balls are shot with a pistol or CO2-fired launcher, Pepperball technology extends the range of traditional pepper sprays from 5 feet to 65 feet.
I put the laser on the target, identify the threat, and then simply pull the trigger.
Wow. Pepper balls can be aimed at individuals or fired in multiple rounds on the ground to create a cloud of stinging pepper.
So Pepperball is incredibly effective at crowd control, at mob control, embassy protection, for example, in times of peace.
2002, Salt Lake City. Pepperball technology proves its power after a rowdy mob descends on the downtown area on the last day of the Winter Olympics. The police used just 6 Pepperball launchers to disperse thousands of people.
The purpose of a non-lethal weapon at the end of the day is to make sure that everyone walks away.
The company stands by its claim of non-lethal. One of Pepperball's executives offers to take a hit.
So you sure you're up for this?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
All right.
10 paces.
10.
Are you ready?
9.
All right, here we go.
All right.
I give up. I give up. Anyone training to use a less lethal weapon should learn what it feels like to be hit by one.
So now it's time for me to take a shot. Here you go.
It's payback time.
All right, bring it on.
All right.
All right.
Ready?
Ready.
Oh, man.
Oh. Woo! It's like being clubbed by a bat.
While Pepperball uses a combination of blunt force and chemicals, another group of less lethal weapons stuns with light and sound. The most common is the flashbang, a distraction device that looks like a grenade, but the shrapnel is 180 decibels of audio dynamite.
When those are thrown, they cause an individual, no matter what they're doing, to stop.
ALS Technologies manufactures a wide arsenal of less lethal flashbangs, munitions and grenades that stun with blinding light, whoa, explosive sound, or both. Yeah! The military is taking flash and bang devices to a new level, creating less lethal weapons that deploy intense light and sound beams. The Battlefield Optical Surveillance System, called BOSS, briefly illuminates an opponent with low-powered laser light. It has the effect of scaring an enemy into submission.
Just by bringing the spot on, what they would do is scan with it, and then if they found activity out there, they would tighten the beam and bring it on there, and they actually had people surrender to the beam.
Attacking vision is one way to subdue the enemy. Attacking hearing is another. 1990, Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega flees to the Vatican Embassy. U.S. Marines blast the embassy for days with 140 decibel heavy metal music to get Noriega to surrender. Now, a new sound technology is serving as both warning and weapon. Inventor Woody Norris is the pioneer of a concept called directional sound.
It's composed of very high-intensity array of loudspeakers that the way they combine the signal electronically makes it extremely directional. So extremely loud and equally directional.
This is one weapon you've got to hear to believe. Less lethal weapons. When compliance is the goal and deadly force is not an option. One means of achieving the submission of an adversary without inflicting physical harm could be called audio artillery.
It's certainly preferable to being shot at.
Bombarding your opponent with a salvo of intolerable sound.
Can't do that with an ordinary weapon.
Inventor Woody Norris is a pioneer of a concept called directional sound.
The speaker focuses sound into a tight beam, much like a laser focuses light. You are in a Navy vessel exclusion zone.
It's a little bit more intense. He's unresponsive to that. Definitely gets his attention.
High-pitched sound waves can cause vertigo, nausea, and disorientation, and make anyone want to be somewhere else.
So this is like sonic bullets. I control how many bullets I shoot, how hard the bullet hits, and how far away it goes.
Directional sound is now being used as a non-lethal acoustic weapon on Navy ships and military bases. The concept also has implications for peacetime. Similar technology called hypersonic sound can be used in home theaters, concerts, and cars. Step into the beam and you hear the sound loud and clear. Step out and you hear nothing at all. You can only hear the sound when the speaker is pointed directly at you. In a car, the driver can listen to different music than the passenger. The Pentagon is continuing to develop weapons that try and minimize injury and minimize collateral damage.
We are going to encounter terrorists in many places, and some of those include here in the U.S., in the homeland. And what we need are systems where we can go in and basically separate the good guys and the bad guys.
A new high-powered microwave system called Active Denial can single out a sniper in a group of civilians. With a range of 300 yards, it shoots a narrow energy beam that heats up the skin's surface. It feels like a hot light bulb.
And it is painful. It is really painful. It's sort of a one-time learning experience.
While no one predicts an end to guns and grenades, the development of less lethal weapons offers a new option in the war against crime and terrorism.
Somebody's got to be out there thinking about the next generation of less than lethal, because we're confronted with more and more situations where we don't want to use lethal force, but we just can't leave. If an individual is threatening somebody, you have to do something about it.
Less lethal weapons, providing high-tech tools for military peacekeepers and cops in potentially deadly situations. Woo!
Man, that's some force behind that. Tactical. Wireless technology keeps the U.S. military on the march.
Well, the way you're wired is the way you fight.
Practical. Wireless technology gets us online from just about anywhere. But watch your back.
I would say that any system that isn't properly protected is entirely vulnerable.
Get your hands up! What's that building up there?
In the fog of war, anything can happen.
I guess you could say that hit it. Iron News Stalwarts reporting as to maybe friendly vehicles may have been hit over. Don't you dare say that.
Friendly fire is perhaps the most demoralizing situation a fighting force can encounter.
It's the loss of our own soldiers' lives. So it has a tremendous negative impact on morale.
During Operation Desert Storm in 1991, 35 soldiers are killed in friendly fire incidents. It's nearly a quarter of all combat deaths.
When you have soldiers that are killed by other soldiers, there are many times I think that they believe that it reflects on leadership. Why didn't more occur to try to prevent that?
Enter Blue Force Tracking, used in the most recent Iraq War. This system gives frontline vehicles instant information as to who is friend or enemy. Blue for friendlies, red for unknown.
Having a Blue Force tracking system on your platform can be a lifesaver. Knowing where you are at all times, knowing where you have to go to next, where your friends are, and really where the enemy's located.
Today's Wired Warrior is one key part of a larger strategy, waging a net-centric war where the U.S. Armed Forces knows what's happening at all times in real time. The internet and digital technology have revolutionized the way people share information and how we do business. In the early 60s, J.C.R. Licklider of MIT first writes down his ideas about a system that will one day become today's internet. A globally interconnected set of computers through which anyone can quickly access data and programs from any site.
The internet arose in part out of concerns about how we might communicate in the wake of a very destructive nuclear war. And scientists intended to be able to pass their data to each other, regardless of what was happening overall to society.
The U.S. government begins funding research into this fledgling global network during the 1960s and 70s, and the military becomes extremely interested in the immense possibilities of instant communication and coordination of deployed troops around the world. In today's lightning-fast wars, the military can deliver complicated orders nearly instantaneously to just about anywhere.
This is Black 6.
The Force 21 Battle Command Brigade and Below, or FBCB-2, is the latest system for situational awareness. FBCB-2 is critical in coordinating the rapid-fire attack on the Hussein regime during Operation Iraqi Freedom.
As people were able to communicate with each other regardless of where you were on the battlefield, you understood we have a great capability here that's taking the Army to a new level. Better situational understanding.
And all this technology will soon be in the palm of a soldier's hand.
FBCB-2's platforms will shrink down to the size of a PDA, ensuring that even the foot soldier will have a complete view of the battlefield. With coordinated troops using the latest technology to move faster, supply chains need to move just as fast. In Gulf War II, some U.S. troops cover hundreds of miles in just a few days. Without supply chains following close behind, they'd be sitting ducks.
Commanders, at times, the most important information they can have is where's my ammo, where's my fuel, how do I get that out to the troops that are needed.
RFID, or Radio Frequency Identification, promises to do just that. RFID will track all the supplies that U.S. and coalition forces need to keep everything moving smoothly. RFID tags use tiny microchips to store data and tiny antennae to transmit their exact location and other key information.
This allows us to get the job done with the minimum amount of inventory sitting idle, and that also increases military productivity or combat effectiveness.
RFID is being developed for supply tracking in civilian warehouses. Soon, every single product we buy may have it. RFID tags are now smaller than a grain of sand, and some are even washable so they can be sewn into clothing. Privacy groups are campaigning to have RFIDs turned off at checkout, so Big Brother won't know exactly where, when, and what items you've purchased.
Big Brother isn't always the biggest threat. A more immediate danger is the crook down the street hacking into your wireless connection with big plans for the personal information on your computer. Without the proper protection, a hacker can easily steal passwords and a whole lot more.
Every year, billions of dollars of damage is done by hackers stealing files and private information from personal and business computers.
Not only could they steal your information, but they could also infect your computer, and then you could take it back to your network and infect somebody else.
We've set up a test to show you just how it's done. Bruce has some confidential financial info on his laptop that he's working on with a partner across the country. If his competitors knew how easy it was to steal his bid, Bruce might not be in business anymore.
We'll show how easy it is for someone to steal your information and how you can make it a lot harder with software that actually sniffs out hackers electronically. From the top command to the soldier in the trenches, the U.S. military is wired like never before. With this tactical internet, orders can be instantly relayed around the world to execute precision strikes on the enemy. Wireless computing promises to allow internet access from almost anywhere, but beware.
There are wireless networks popping up all over the country. These Wi-Fi hotspots are conveniently located in airports, coffee shops, and other public places to make it a snap to get online. But the technology is also being exploited for criminal activity like identity theft and corporate spying. We're going to show you how easy it is for someone to steal your information and what you can do to keep yours safe.
The test that we've set up here to show how vulnerable wireless networks are is going to be between myself and my accomplice, John, in the background.
With a program called a sniffer, a hacker can literally dial up any unprotected wireless network and have a look around.
With the information that he can pick up, he'll be able to log into my email account and read my data. John could be just about anywhere within about 250 feet of the Wi-Fi hotspot itself.
Right here, his username is B. Hubbard. His password, System45. So now that I have Bruce's username and password, I can log into his POP3 server using his credentials and read his mail. It's marked confidential, and apparently it has bids for an upcoming project.
To protect yourself, you can install software that alerts you to an intruder on your computer. Air Magnet's Wireless Analyzer is one product that'll give you the heads up. Once you know you're being hacked, you can take action by activating stronger encryption or authentication. The software will also help you locate the hacker.
And now I have a Geiger counter that I can use to go ahead and move around and try to locate his device. Since he's right next to me here, it's pegging out at a very high number.
The front lines are online, making the U.S. military a connected and lethal fighting force. And being online opens the world of information. Just log on and surf the wave, but make sure to protect yourself. Combat speed. Without it, in the air or on the ground, a tactical force becomes bogged down. For the armed forces, speed is power.
It results in shock and surprise at the right point, at the right time.
For civilians, recreational speed means thrills, chills, and the occasional spill.
Speed is life to me. It's what it's all about.
Hi, I'm Hunter Ellis. For the military, speed is the platform for overwhelming force. But for civilians, the need for speed is all about pleasure and power.
This is a Super Comp dragster with a top speed of over 150 miles per hour in the quarter mile. And believe it or not, with a little training, you could actually drive it.
All right, Thomas, got some gear for me? All right, there's my helmet.
At Frank Hawley's NHRA Drag Racing School, you can be on your way to a career as a drag racer for less than $1,000.
This is gonna be a lot of fun.
There's nothing that compares to feeling your butt get shoved back in the seat with 3.5 Gs. It's the most awesome feeling on the planet.
Recreational speed has long obsessed humans. We want to move faster on land, on water, and in the air.
I think it's the roller coaster mentality, that thrill-seeking type of deal. The feeling of going fast is something that you adapt to. The first couple times I made 150-mile-an-hour runs, everything was a blur to me. And then after about the 10th one, you start to slow things down in your mind, and what you find is when you get to that point, you're ready for more speed.
Today, speed is the name of the game in battle.
Well, speed can translate to tactical advantage in the sense that speed gets you mobility, surprise, translating that impact of shock to the point of approach to the enemy.
But of course, things didn't always move so quickly on the battlefield. At the end of World War I, motorized vehicles make moving rapidly through enemy lines a powerful new tactic.
To get men up and out of the trenches and to engage in a war of maneuver was the dream of generals during World War I. By the end of that war, what most people don't realize is that by 1918, the German army was actually in retreat. They were up out of the trenches, and it was a war of maneuver.
World War II. Germany uses blitzkrieg, or lightning war tactics, to achieve early victories in the European theater.
Armor maneuvering on a battlefield has got to be reactive and proactive. What we learned about blitzkrieg and the German tactics were we had to be better than them.
And faster. For example, tanks that took on the Germans had a top speed of about 30 miles per hour. By the 1960s, tank speed had improved. The 750 horsepower Patton could run nearly 40 miles per hour. Today's Abrams M1 has twice the horsepower and can cruise closer to 50 miles per hour.
The advantage in Desert Storm and in the Iraqi campaigns was that today you have combat vehicles that can move as fast as, or support vehicles that can move as fast as your combat vehicles and mechanized infantry carriers.
And the Army's new fast attack vehicle is Stryker. These tactical vehicles zip along at speeds of more than 60 miles per hour, lightning fast on the battlefield.
What Stryker enables us to do basically is provide protected transportation for what amounts to a more lethal light force. The other thing Stryker enables us to do is travel at much greater speeds on road. Stryker vehicle on a level road will do about 60 miles an hour, which is the speed of the entire brigade. So the whole brigade can get to the battle much quicker.
Stryker is a family of 10 different vehicles on a common chassis.
It's an 8-wheeled chassis with a 350 horsepower, 6-cylinder turbo diesel engine working through a 6-speed automatic transmission. All the vehicles are essentially the same from the belt line down and from the firewall forward.
Not only is it fast across the ground, but its flexible design allows troops to configure it quickly and get where they need to go. Speed, of course, is relative. What's fast for a tank is crawling for a dragster. A fast dragster simply can't compete with an airplane, especially a plane with rockets under its wings. 1945, a secret program begins. Spanning nearly 60 years, the X-plane program propels the technology of flight and studies the effects of extreme altitude and extreme speed on man and machine.
We demonstrated the ability of a pilot to function and maneuver within a pressure suit in stressful conditions of high speed and high altitude, a purely hostile environment.
October 3rd, 1967. Pete Knight becomes the fastest man in the world when he pilots a modified X-15A2 to Mach 6.7, 4,520 miles per hour, a record for fixed-wing aircraft that still stands today.
Flying the X-15 was a thrill in itself. Then if you weren't a little bit afraid, you didn't have a little fear, I think there would be something wrong with you.
The X-plane project leads to advanced military fighters and commercial airliners that fly faster, higher, and are more fuel efficient. Nothing says speed like the venerable Lockheed SR-71, the fastest jet ever. Developed in the early 1960s as a stealthy spy plane, it screams to a top speed of over 2,200 miles per hour.
It was the first aircraft that was built primarily of titanium and also high-temperature composites. It had to sustain extremely high temperatures for long periods of time.
The closest thing to the SR-71 in commercial aviation is the Concorde, a British and French joint project which first flies in 1969.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain. As you notice, we're coming up to twice the speed of sound.
The only commercial jet to use military-style afterburners, it can fly at twice the speed of sound. Paris to New York in just over 3 hours. But for all their speed, soaring operational costs ground both the SR-71 and the Concorde. This Supercomp dragster won't break the sound barrier, but if you feel the need for speed, strap in and let's go. This could be the most thrilling 8 seconds of your life. Today's military might relies on speed to dominate the battlefield. For civilians, fast cars, faster boats, a status symbol, and fun to drive. (2001) Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah. Don Vesco scorches the ground in the Turbinator at 458 miles per hour to set the wheel-driven land speed record. Add rocket-powered thrust and hold on to your seat. Andy Green breaks the sound barrier in 1997, driving 763 miles per hour, the current record for thrust-powered vehicles. For most of us, the Frank Hawley NHRA Drag Racing School is as close as we'll come to the Bonneville Salt Flats.
Anybody a little bit excited about driving a dragster for the first time today? We start out with an introductory course called the Dragster Adventure. It's our same 700 horsepower super comp cars. What we do is we knock the power down to about half the level to get novices acclimated to being in a dragster. You guys are completely responsible for driving the race car.
My 20 classmates and I receive instruction on how to shift, stay safe, and drive fast.
I'm with Jack Beckman, a pro drag racer and drag race instructor. And Jack, I gotta tell you, this looks like a carrier catapult wrapped in a nice, neat package.
Well, welcome aboard, Hunter. Good to see you.
It's good to be here.
It's not an F-18, but what we've got here is an NHRA Super Comp dragster.
Wow, how many horses is this?
This is a 700 horsepower, 500 cubic inch, aluminum-headed big block Chevy engine for you.
I love it. So what kind of speeds are we talking about?
This thing is gonna go 0 to 155 in less than 8.5 seconds. These cars are actually very smooth. The key to driving these cars well is almost underdriving them. They're built very long intentionally, so they got a lot of stability going down the drag strip. Got very small and smooth front tires to give them less drag going down the drag strip.
Now it's time for years of jet experience to pay off in drag racing.
Helmet, gloves. I pull up to the line, wait for the light, and gun it.
I'm trading in my SUV, that's it.
Navy SEALs special boat teams use fast watercraft on tactical missions to strike with a vengeance. The Special Operations Craft Riverine takes SEALs up inland waterways. This 33-footer is powered by twin 440 horsepower diesel engines, carrying over 20,000 pounds of personnel and combat gear at speeds of up to 48 miles per hour. With a top speed of more than 50 miles per hour, Magnum Marine's Mark V is the perfect boat for the Navy SEALs to insert combat swimmers into hostile areas. Carrying 16 SEALs and their gear, the Mark V is the newest high-performance tactical boat in the SEALs fleet. You can't own a Mark V, but for $2 million you can buy its cousin, the Magnum Marine 60. This Magnum Marine 60 is a high-performance civilian pleasure boat. The Magnum's twin 200 horsepower diesel engines are coupled with Arneson surface drives, the same drives that power Howard Arneson's super-fast open water speedboat.
The Arneson drive is a system where the prop runs only half in the water, and with that we can trim it up and down to get the proper submergence. We can also steer the boat left and right.
Talk about speed. Howard and I went 130 miles per hour on San Francisco Bay. The Magnum 60 will only go half as fast, but there's a difference. Today, I get to drive. I'm in Miami, Florida, at the helm of a Magnum Marine 60-footer, a pleasure boat like no other. If you love speed on the open ocean, you'll want to get your hands on one of these. For the military, speed provides an edge and gives today's soldiers confidence as they rush to battle. For civilians, speed is pure joy. The need for speed, tactical to practical. Tactical. Less lethal weapons, winning the battle without losing a life. Practical. Keeping crime in check without deadly force. Tactical, the computer on the battlefield, waging war without wires. Practical, the wireless wired world, a communication revolution for everyone. Tactical, combat speed increases battlefield victories. Practical, for civilians, technology pushes recreational speed to the limit. Tactical to practical. Technology moving from government deployment to everyone's enjoyment.